This episode is brought to you by Portland Distro. If you love underground music and movies, go to portlanddistro.com for licensed shirts, vinyl, CDs, and more. Go to portlanddistro.com. Plug in the discount code MikeHill666 for 15% off at portlanddistro.com. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. This is Everything Went Black. That means it's Wednesday, again, the day that this podcast drops. I have a visitor. We're doing an in-person, face-to-face podcast with my brother, Evan Hopper from Quell. How's it going, Evan?
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, so we spent a nice evening last night. We went to see Jedi Mind Tricks and a new artist that I just became familiar with called Crime Apple.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, dude, that was an awesome show.
It was dope. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a killer night in Brooklyn. Fun time. Really cool venues at Elsewhere, which my first show at that venue, but it's in the up and coming area of Bushwick, Brooklyn, man. So we had a lot of fun last night.
Yeah, it was rad, man. I mean, that was also my first time going to a show in New York, and it definitely didn't disappoint. I mean, the place was at capacity. It was a good vibe all night. Like, everybody was just having a good time. And the whole lineup, man, was just killer. I mean, you know, for some people who listen to this and don't know, Vinny Paz of Jedi Mind Tricks recently announced that this is his final tour that he's doing. The guy's been in the game for 25, 30 years, so you know it's his way of going out on his own terms. And the people that he had with him, I mean, it was just like a perfect fit for the whole show. So
this means that even his solo career is coming to an end?
As far as I know, if he does anything at all, it's just going to be like spots. He's not going to do tours anymore. Yeah.
Well, you know, but you think he's going to put out records anymore? Or?
Yeah, I mean, he runs Enemy Soil Records,
right,
so
cool.
I mean, he'll still be in the scene, and I don't see that guy stopping as far as being creative. But you know, he has a podcast as well that he does with a couple guys, and he's mentioned in the past on that podcast that you know, he loves to play live for the fans, but the whole aspect of touring is just getting harder and harder for him, and really, he just he misses his home and he wants to be home. And,
I can see that.
Yeah, and he's just done it so long. I mean, I can get it, man. 30 years. Yeah.
If I had a reason to stay home, I would like to stay home, but you know. Yeah. But that's, you know, for guys like him who got to probably have a life and everything, that's cool. You know, I appreciate that though. I can relate to the desire to have a full life, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I don't know if the guy's you know, Jay-Z level, probably not, but he's definitely set himself up to be in a financial place because he's got his hands in a record label, he's got several different bands, and I'm sure, you know, at this point in his life, touring is just something that he does as a courtesy to the people who like his music. I don't think the guy necessarily eats off of it, you know what I mean? There needs to do it to eat.
Yeah, I mean, it was sold out, though. The Philly show sold out, too,
Yeah,
right?
They just sold, well, yeah, Union Transfer sold out, actually, before they announced the Brooklyn. I don't even know if they announced the Brooklyn show as selling out, but it looked like it did.
Yeah.
But, as soon as tickets went on sale, probably, I don't know, a week later, Union Transfer in Philly was sold out.
Well, before we get too deep into this talk, I just want to give a shout out to all of our mutual friends. Evan here is a friend of everyone that I'm about to talk about as well. So of course, I'm talking about Monday. This is the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse, starting on Monday, starting your week off right, starting a week off strong with Horror Wolf 666, brought to you by Brandon Legion. On Tuesday, we have Jackie is instrumental in you and our friendship. Basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so of course, Tuesday is Into the Necrosphere, which is brought to us by our mutual brother, Jackie Smith. the only metal podcast I listen to.
Yeah. I mean, it's I don't really even listen to, like, consider the other ones because, I mean, his is definitely the best by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I listen to Heavy Hole, like with Big Will, and that every now and then I'll catch up on that.
Sure.
And that's like a fun, podcast to check out too. But Jackie is a weekly thing. I look forward to Tuesdays, and I was mad at him when he went away on vacation. Honestly,
Same. And he saved my ass too, because it's about a 4-hour drive up to where I'm hanging out with Mike at, and it's a good podcast to put on, because I mean it keeps you entertained the whole time, and it's long format, so you can put on 1-2 and like get through a day at work, get through like a drive. It's nice.
Yeah. And Wednesday, of course, is the day that Everything Went Black hits the streets. And if you're listening to this, you know what the show is all about. On Thursday, I come back with Mike Scandato and Jeff Kashid for Necromaniacs, which is a horror podcast, different a little bit from Brandon's, because Brandon has guests on his show and he interviews them, and it's old school filmmakers. I mean, he's had like Mick Garris on his show, which is like an OG in the horror world, as well as new up and coming people too. And then of course we all guest on each other's shows too, which is fun. Sunday is Carl Hikara's Soul Knox podcast, and as you guys know from this past week, we're doing a collaboration between Soul Knox and Everything Went Black, and we're going to be talking about the work of the author Carl Edward Wagner. Last week was the pilot episode. This past Sunday was the first episode of Darkness Weaves, which is our podcast devoted to the work of Carl Edward Wagner. And that first episode dropped on Soul Knox. Episode number 2 is going to be coming out next month on Everything Went Black. So we're going to be trading off episodes. The first endeavor into this world is talking about the recently republished In a Lonely Place horror collection by Wagner. And more people, if you like dark fantasy and horror and sword and sorcery and all that kind of stuff, and you never heard of him, do me a favor and do yourself a favor and check out his work. You can buy that in a Lonely Place book. You can get that online. You can get it on Amazon. You can get his other stuff for paying incredibly high amounts of money, because all that stuff's currently out of print. You can find it on Kindle. But maybe if more people are aware of him, more people buy In a Lonely Place, maybe his other work will get republished. And that's kind of the sort of goal, I guess. And any small way that I can contribute to that effort, I'm happy to do that,
Yeah, you got me hooked on it. Like, I'm definitely checking this guy out now. Like,
Hell
after
yeah.
everything you told me about it. So,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Speaking of support, if you want to support Everything Went Black, you can head over to Patreon. We have a Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month, you can support the podcast, get access to the plethora of bonus content. There's a weekly Friday drop of bonus content that it's kind of like a staff picks, where I talk about, things I've been fixated on for the week that have to do with music, movies, books, all that kind of stuff. There's also a whole sub-series that I do with Ralph that's on there, and a series that I do with Evan, who's sitting right here. So you can check all that stuff out for $1 a month, man.
It's really worth it.
It's like less than that's like a third of the price of a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Right. I mean, that's 1 6-pack for a year. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's totally worth it. I mean, not just toot my own horn because I'm a part of this, but like, I mean, the amount of extra content that you get, like if you're just listening to this stuff, like Everything Went Black on Spotify, you're really missing out, because there's so much other like really great content on there. And it's nice. It's really nice.
For $5 a month, you get all the bonus content, and then you get early access to the regular stream episodes. So you might have like a backlog of like 3 or 4 episodes, or sometimes none. Because I'm literally doing it week to week, but usually the case is that there's a backlog of episodes that you can listen to at your leisure when they go up. So I try to stay on top of that, but sometimes you fall behind.
And if you're a fan of Mike's music, every once in a while, Mike will grace us with some stuff that he's working on too. So that's another added benefit of joining the Patreon.
And there's going to be a drop of some stuff on there too, coming up in the next few weeks. So definitely, if you're interested in that stuff and you want to hear meager scratchings of my creative output, you can check it out. There's also going to be a bunch of writing that's going to be going on up there in the next 6 months or so. So, so yeah, that's it, man. So, so what's up, man? How's life? How's things going for you?
It's going all good, man. Fucking had a killer time last night. Super glad that I came up here and we went to see that show. And I mean, yeah, dude, like, you and I went there. Knowing what to expect, but like also kind of unfamiliar, especially like both of us were like were taken back by this crime apple guy, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was just a rad time. What about you?
I had a lot of fun, and that neighborhood that we went to was off of Johnson Avenue in Brooklyn. Definitely has changed over the last 15 years, 20 years or so. That space that Elsewhere is in, if I'm not mistaken, used to be another like illegal show space. There's a bunch of spots out there that over the years I've seen many, many shows at. Like there was a place called Crouton's House of God, which was basically some dude's loft that he put shows on. And I've seen like Hellshock play there, Selfish, like the Japanese hardcore band. Like there was like 1 year where all these bands from Japan seemed to be touring the United States, and my buddy Ben from Drop Dead was the guy who drove them around, and they were all playing at this spot out there, so that was like a kind of a blast from the past. Remind me of those days of just like lurking through that desolate, like quiet nighttime area filled with warehouses, and now it's not really like that. Now there's like other things that have crept up over the years in that neighborhood that's made it seem a little bit more legitimate, like this club Elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's like a real deal club with like security and,
Yeah, 100%. And it's in the area that it's in, like, people listening to this don't take this the wrong way, but like, it's got like that, it's just got that grime kind of feel to it. Like it feels like, a place where like mafia bosses would meet up. Like it's in like this industrial area. It's kind of on the outskirts of the city. You can see it in the distance, but like for me, I thought it would like, it just elevated the whole experience. Cause you're getting to see like this underground hip hop in this sort of place. And I don't know, man, like every single time I come up here and we end up in New York, I just find like another reason to like fall in love with the city. And I'm like, totally into just the whole thing, and especially New York at night. Like New York at night is like my new favorite place.
Awesome, man. I'm glad to be part of that. But it's funny, almost as a companion piece to what Ralph and I did about hip hop music. This is kind of cool because I remember saying something about how I kind of have fallen out of my fandom of that style of music over the last, since the year 2000 maybe. And I'm definitely aware of Jedi. I've listened to Jedi Mind Tricks. I've listened to Vinny Paz. Like there's MF Doom is like someone I've like gotten into. But I feel like last night's show, like especially with the introduction of Crime Apple, has like rekindled my interest in some of the more contemporary stuff that's going on that's not mainstream, that's sort of in the fringes.
Hell yeah.
Like I'm probably going to check out Vinny Paz's label and see what else is cooking on there.
Right on. Yeah. No, it was dope, man. And I know what you mean too. And like we kind of like had talked about this outside of the podcast, but it's nice to go to these other types of shows that are kind of outside of like the norm. For us, obviously, it's like the metal and the hardcore and shit like that we frequent more often. But to go to like a show like this, not only is it like invigorating, like Mike mentioned, but it's just like it's just because I think it's like outside of like what we normally do, it's really like it's even more fun to go and see this kind of stuff and have a good time. And yeah, I don't know, like because I don't go to a lot of hip hop shows, I always look forward to doing something like that because it's outside of my box, and I have just as much fun at those kind of things as I do any other kind of concert. So yeah, absolutely, it was rad night.
Did the Philly show happen yet? Or is that
tonight?
It's tonight.
Yeah.
Damn. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because I was like, damn, because he's from Philly, so that's why I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that show sold out like
right.
Immediately. Yeah. Yeah, Philly. It's like even as a result of that, I'm starting to discover some artists out of Philly. Because for me, for years, I thought of Philly. I always thought of Schoolie D.
Yeah.
And that's like from like the '80s. You know, what I
Right.
mean? That's like 30-something years ago. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So you were playing me some demos, man, of some of the new Quell material.
Yeah. That's hopefully going to be done here pretty soon. It's in the mixing phase currently. So I'm going to get all the music back. Then I have to track vocals, send it back for like the final mix master. And I've already got the artwork picked out, album title picked out. So we're getting closer and closer, to the, D-Day or whatever.
When you started Quell, I'm trying to get the timeline correctly.
Sure.
Were you living in the States or in Europe at the time?
I was in California, and it was actually the move to Sweden that kind of like put everything into motion, because I lived in California for about 10 years, and the whole reason why I even moved to California in the first place was because a buddy of mine had gone there the year prior, joined a band, and that band was going to go on tour but lost a guitar player, so I filled the spot. After doing that tour, ended up in California, and for 10 years I was in a slew of different bands, and I just never like had any real physical media that had my name on it. And that was like amongst other goals in music that I've wanted to achieve, and some of them I still haven't. That was one thing that was just really important to me. It's like, I'm gonna say goodbye to the States. I'm gonna move to another country, and I don't know if I'm gonna ever be in this boat again. So I put together the very first EP, the Quell EP, which is 4 songs, but it was like just one of those things I wanted to check off the list in case I never did do it again. And then because of that EP, when I went to Sweden, I ended up meeting my buddy Patrick, who did the mixing and recording for the second EP, Turning the Sun to Stone. And it was completely based on him liking that first EP, which then that set off this momentum. So it's kind of funny. I did it as almost like, this is just to get it out of my system kind of thing. And it
So
turned,
you were thinking that was the only thing you were going to do.
Yeah.
Like that you were prepared just to like put this out in the world and walk away from it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was the goal.
Damn.
And then thankfully other people were like, you should keep doing this, and like, let me help you. I'll help you, get a better like mix, and everything, and pushed me to do the second EP. And then when I did that second EP, I started getting feedback from people, that weren't my friends. And yeah, and then you get the album, and now I'm doing my second full length album, but my 4th release. So it's pretty dope, man.
And all this stuff is self-produced and self-released and on Bandcamp, right? You
Yeah,
can find it on
Bandcamp and Spotify, any streaming service it's on. I use DistroKid, so it just sends it out to every.
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Yeah. I'm going to utilize that for something at some point. One of these things I got cooking.
It's really dope for independent artists because they handle everything. I mean, all your streaming income, which is like 0.00001 penny, you get for a stream. It all gets like put into one pool for you to access. They set you up like if you were to make a lot of money, they set up your W like.
Oh wow, dude!
Whatever.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Damn.
So and they also it gives you, it's not like a legit like copyright, but you get like a copyright stamp through them, like because there's like a trail, because it's published through them.
Well, that's really, I think my understanding with that is that's all you really have to have is legally is proof that there's like a timestamp on when you put the material out,
right?
And that holds up in like if there was ever any kind of like legal dispute or something like that.
And it's completely reasonable. Like I paid for the deluxe version of it, which allows me to have 2 music projects, which we'll get into a little bit. But it's like $27.99 a year, and for them to do all this and host your music on all these streaming platforms, and it's great.
Well, that's our mutual friend Brandon Legion of Horrorwolf. He's the one who actually told me about it because he's got his Abraxas Horn project that comes out on that. That's what he used. He's like, yeah, there's this new service. It's like sick. It takes care of everything for you. And I was like, man, it's funny. You and I were talking last night about how shitty the world is with respect to social media and everything, and how depersonalized everything is. But there are some really good things that have happened as a result of the technology that we have at our access.
Sure.
And that's one of them, man, is like a service like this where if people are, to aggregate all that income into one spot, I think is like incredible,
Yeah, and also like, it gives people like me an opportunity that they otherwise might not have had, like, back in the 90s, which is like, being able to put your music out there independently and get it into, viable channels like Spotify and stuff like that, where like people are, consuming music. And, and that's like, that's really beneficial. And it helps me out a lot because, I don't have, a record label backing me up. So this is like, it really helps. And then, other things too, like that are just little like bonus perks with DistroKid. DistroKid will give you access to things like Spotify for Artists.
So you can look at your stats. And everything.
Get your analytics and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And like not only that, but like I recently like because I have the Spotify for Artists, I was able to like sit in on a masterclass about like run by Spotify for like how to like market your music and stuff like that. And I mean, it's just a nice little extra perk, but it's something that most people, especially like bands that are like probably just starting up right now, don't even know that there's a separate app for Spotify, but you have to have this. You either have to have like a manager who does this kind of thing for you, or you have to have DistroKid, because there's like, you can't just have access to this app. You have to like have like this, I can't remember what the name of the code is now, but it's like, it's something that, tells this app that you are a musician that uses their streaming platform. So
I love it, man.
Yeah, it's dope.
I love that. That's like one of the coolest things I think I've heard in a long time.
Yeah. So I mean, if I highly recommend this. I mean, even for you, but like, if you're listening to this and you're starting a band and you're like, how do I get my music out there? Like DistroKid, man, check it out.
Because I know even like, because I've been doing the podcast grind for a long time, man, and even making sure that all your stuff is out there on all the different platforms was challenging. Now it's a little bit easier, but I remember being like, I have to submit it to this. I got to submit it to that. And then with music, having it all in one spot like that is like,
sure,
that's pretty key, man. I think.
I will say this because I ran into this issue, and this is like for you, but also anybody else who's like thinking about doing this. If you use this service, I highly recommend that you uncheck sending your music via DistroKid to YouTube and do YouTube yourself, because I ran into an issue where there was two artists by the name of Quell, but one was like a DJ guy, like who played like electronic music. Okay. And my music, because the algorithm didn't understand, put my music on his page.
Oh shit!
And he started getting streams, I had to do this whole. And it was like months long process because YouTube was dragging their feet to finally get it off of his page and onto mine. So, other than that, it's a great service. But definitely be careful and make sure you don't share the same name as somebody else, because that can happen even with like Spotify. I've heard of it happening before. Like the band Shining from Sweden recently had some like latest release pop up, and I actually was the one that caught it and contacted the guys. It was some completely other artist that was doing like techno music, but it came on their Spotify account because they had the same name. And I'm guessing it was probably through a service like DistroKid and why that happened. Yeah.
Well, that's good information to get out there to people.
For sure.
Yeah. So all of your releases are on this service, and you can find everything out there on all the different platforms.
Yeah,
right?
Yep. And then the Bandcamp is just quell.bandcamp.com, and that's where if you want to like get physical stuff. I only really do CDs. I'm thinking maybe on this, because I really like the artwork for this new album, I might do like a shirt and maybe some patches as well. But typically it's just like the CDs, and I just do these small batch CDs, because first come, first serve as far as I'm concerned, and then when they're out, they're out. So
what's a good? It's funny I'm asking you these things. This is like a how-to session too. It seems like. So where is a good spot to get CDs made these days, as far as that goes?
I always do local. So
okay.
like in my town, there's a place called I think it's called American Printing Company, and they do like everything, and they're reasonably priced. When I was in Sweden, I used this place called Skriftrik, and it's like a website, but it's like in Stockholm, and they were also reasonable. It came out like 50 CDs comes out to like a little under $400 or a little under $500. Sorry. And yeah, I always do it that way. I used to work for, I've talked about this before. I used to work in printing, so I have like a background in setting up files for printing and stuff.
Okay.
So I'll download the templates from whatever website that I'm going to end up working with. I'll set up all the artwork myself, and and then it's just a matter of uploading your WAV files to them. And then the reason I like doing local if I can is because I can get like a proof. And so I can like physically hold that proof.
Sure.
Because if you go, I have like played around with websites just because maybe they offered a better deal or something. I wanted to see what it was like. They only send digital proofs. So literally they're just sending you the fucking file you sent them right back to you. Right.
Yeah,
so it's like, great. Like, how do I know what this is going to look like?
Yeah.
So, and also, you want to be able to listen to your CD and make sure like,
there's no glitches and stuff.
Right. And it's in like, everything. So I always try, even if it like might be a little bit more money, I definitely recommend like doing local, if you can. I mean, you might live in a place where it's just not an option, but for me it is. So,
the Mike Scandato has been buying CDs again.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's funny because like I think
he was just like getting rid of a bunch of vinyl too, right?
Yeah, totally. I bought a bunch of shit from him too,
yeah.
man. I actually ended up getting that At the Gates repress.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Okay.
remember we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's been telling me that like he's like I started buying CDs again. I'm like cool. He's like, yeah, they sound better than streaming.
Mm-hmm.
You get a better product, like you get a better audio product.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I might start buying CDs again because I have a huge amount of discs, and I just I don't have a CD player currently, and I think that's a pretty cool endeavor, man, to get back into listening to physical media,
Yeah, that's why I always doubt or tout, sorry, Bandcamp, because on Bandcamp, I can upload like the 24-bit like actual version,
the high res,
yeah. Right? And same with CDs as well. But like, yeah, on Bandcamp, when you're downloading albums, via Bandcamp, even if it's digitally, or if you're downloading digitally, you're getting the same quality that you would get like you would on the CD. And a lot of people don't realize that. Like when you go on things like Spotify, they downgrade it. And it's not so horrible, but you're not getting the full product. And if you have like a hi-fi system, you're not going to get to enjoy it.
Well, our friend Jackie will attest to that.
Yeah,
because he's the hi-fi head, over at Into the Necrosphere, and he's a high-res kind of guy.
Sure.
And I agree with him on that. That if you and that's one of the criticisms that we were talking about last night. Just like this portable mobile culture where you're listening to shit with like earbuds and whatever. It works for that, but if you're gonna hang out at home and have like legit speakers and a receiver and that kind of thing, you want quality stuff. If you're gonna spend money on getting a quality system, then you should listen to your step one to be getting quality material.
Yeah, and if you're a music nerd in general, like having that like ultra hi-fi quality, you're getting like all the little nuances that happened in that recording too, like the finger sticking to strings, or like just like buzzing in the background. It's like for me, like I love that kind of stuff, just like when you listen to an album and like you can hear, like you just hear it differently every single time. You get that with that high res, but it's just kind of like neutered on things like Spotify. It's still a great service. I mean, I'm super grateful.
Yeah, we're not talking shit about it necessarily.
No, definitely not. No.
but
but there is. It's a known fact. Everyone knows, like who works with Spotify, that they downgrade your quality, unfortunately.
And also just not to get too technical about this stuff, but like compression and dynamic range. If you listen to music that has like a lot of dynamic range in it, like quiet to soft, quiet to loud. When the streaming file, the MP3 file or whatever they use, is super, super compressed, so you don't get those differences in dynamic range as much.
Right.
So if you're at home and you're listening to a compressed file like that, it's all kind of, everything is like on your system at home with speakers. You're like, there's like no dynamic range.
Yeah.
But if you have like a nice vinyl or a CD, you get more of that there's less compression on it,
Right.
and you get the differences between quiet and soft and loud.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's interesting, though.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely, recommend for anybody. I mean, even you, like I said, like, DistroKid's a really good service to use if you're trying to get your music out there.
Did you always intend on Quell being kind of a one-man operation?
Well, like I said, with the whole initially with the attitude that like I was just going to be like one and done, and then as it started to like gain momentum, I had played around with the idea of like finding musicians. But despite living in Stockholm, I actually had a pretty difficult time finding anybody to play with, so it never really came to fruition. But now that I'm back in the States and working on this fourth release now, and I've been talking to you as well.
Yeah.
That is something I would like to get into. I would like to, I think now I've got a decent enough catalog that I can have a full set, and and I'm not like, I don't know. Obviously, I'm still very underground, so the shows wouldn't be sold out by any means. But it's something I want to get into, and I've never played these songs live, and that's like, it seems kind of like a disservice because I've put a lot of time into all this stuff, and so. To answer your question, initially yes, but as I've gone on, I would like to do something with this that goes beyond just being the one-man metal band thing.
Yeah, because as I listen to, like, I've heard demos for the new record, and even the last record still it feels like a band. Like, it doesn't really seem just like one person making all the parts himself.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
And even the drums don't necessarily sound like a drummer, actually. So to me at least, I'm not a drummer.
Well, I mean, I do have a background in bands. I mean, from the time I was 15 till when I moved to Sweden, I was constantly in bands, and for the most part, I don't know if it was just destined to be, or if it was just a matter of no one else wanted to do it. But I, for the majority of all the bands that I had been in, I had been the main songwriter, vocalist, frontman, whatever you want to call it. And so I've always been mindful of like writing songs rather than writing parts. I have some friends that are like way better guitarists than I am, but their main focus is like filling that role.
Right.
And for me, I always think like I want to write a song, so I think of all the individual parts, and I try to, I try my best to emulate that, and you can see the progression too. Like, one thing that I didn't do on the very first record that I started to play around with more and more, and now I'm doing a lot, is like layering and having, differential like guitar parts. And then, the first EP had very basic bass where it just really just served a purpose, and now going into it, I'm trying to put more focus on the actual writing of it, and it's taken time, but as you release these things, and then like for me, I don't know about you, but for me, I do listen a lot to the music that I write, and I try to pick it apart and like see, listen to things that maybe next time I wouldn't do, or like listen like for parts that like, oh, I could have done this instead.
Right.
And I try really hard to do that and to focus on that and improve every time I go around,
Yeah, dude, that's when listening to music, like once it's done and out and I get the proof and I approve it, I never listen to my
No.
unless it's like okay, we're putting together a set or something like that.
Yeah.
But I can't listen to my own stuff, man, without feeling like cringy, and like the phase that we're in right now where we're writing, I'm picking apart everything. Like I'm in there, on a daily basis, almost like revising stuff.
Sure.
And there's a lot of pride when you listen to the stuff that you're writing, and then you get obsessive and you get crazy about, well, I'm going to cut this part out, and then you have a completely different song. But after it's all said and done and the vocals are done and it's recorded and mastered and out in the world, I can't bring myself to listen to it. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm like that when I'm in the writing process, because I mean, as you know, like I'm doing this from home.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in front of a computer and I'm writing, and I mean, I'll listen to maybe a 10-second section of a song 300 fucking times
Sure.
in a row, you know? And there's definitely a period between, like right now, it's been like a couple weeks since I've submitted the music for mixing. I haven't listened, other than last night when I was showing you some stuff, I haven't listened to any of it because I'm just sick of it, right? But then it'll come back to me, and then I'll do the vocals, and then it becomes like something separate. For me, at least, you know. But like, I always try to write stuff, you know. The way that I think with Quell is like, I just write stuff that I would want to hear, you know. So and it's kind of narcissistic, I suppose, that I like my own music. But I mean, it's you know, I do it because I this is what I want to listen to, and I enjoy this, you know. I enjoy live music. I enjoy recorded music. It's like it's my life. It's everything I've ever done, really. Even though I'm not like successful and by any means, like I've lived this life, like I said, since, you know, in my teenage years, you know.
Also, I think that it'd be a really cool challenge for yourself to get, you know, a lineup together and perform these things live. And I think it would add a whole new dimension to the band, really, you know?
Yeah, it would be interesting, you know, because I will say one thing I've thought about, but like, you know, obviously nothing's come of it yet, is, you know, would I want, like, would I give some of the writing duties away to other people, you know? Because I feel like that if I had a band and we were more than just a touring act, that it would be the right thing to do to let these guys contribute, you know? But at the same time, it's like, you know, this has been sort of like my baby for 4 releases now, you know? So, I mean, obviously that's a future problem that doesn't exist at the moment, or maybe won't exist, but it's just something I've considered and thought about before. It's like, you know, because, you know, there are nuances to like what I do. Like, again, no, not a virtuoso over here, but like there's like, I have a certain style and I'm very particular about playing things a certain way and bending notes a certain way. And, you know, I would have to, like, you know, find somebody that was on the same page.
Yeah, maybe the writing should just primarily be like under your, you know, guys. I can see that.
Yeah.
You know, and but yeah, just being able to have a lineup, I think would just change. You might even change the way you write things too, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly, you know. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. And like, you know, I've been talking to you about it. You know, I moved back to Virginia for some personal family stuff. But then, you know, I've been back for close to a year now. And, you know, everything that I came back for has been handled. And so, you know, I've been mentioning to you that I've been starting to like think about and find a place that is more for like music for the scene, and moving to a place where I would be closer to have those kind of options, like places to play, people to play with.
Sure.
So, but then again, you know, I could just do the hip hop thing, right, and just bring a laptop and my guitar, you know, dude, fucking why not, right?
Wow, we were talking about that guy Ghost, remember?
Yeah.
And I feel comfortable talking shit about this because I think it's terrible, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking, this fool showed up with a laptop, and people paid money to see him hit a space bar.
Yeah,
you know,
that's crazy.
And it was just like, I'm just not down with that, man. You know, but people, maybe there's a way to do that. That's sick. You know, where you can do it.
I know this. No, I've met him a couple of times, and I did a show with him once. This guy Sean Whitaker. He's out of Texas, and he used to be in this band Putrid Pile.
Oh yeah, dude, hell yeah.
But he does like his own solo shit now, just under his name, Sean Whitaker, and he just brings a fucking drum machine with him. And then he has a mic stand and his guitar, and he does the whole concert just like that. He just hits play, but it's cool, and he's a great musician, but it lacks that fucking like energy. That's the only downside to it, because it's just one dude, and he can't really move. He's posted, you know. So
drum machines like that. That's okay. Like, because like I've seen, you know, many like industrial bands like have just drum machines.
Yeah.
You know, like Twin Tribes has a drum machine. Like that's, but they're playing their instruments. And even tracks, I don't have a problem necessarily with tracks, like backing tracks.
Right.
Because, you know, Photocrime, like my buddy Ryan goes out on tour, and sometimes it's just him and his guitar and like a laptop. But there's an element to it where he's singing, he's playing guitar. This fool, Ghost, he had a motherfucker on stage with a bass that wasn't playing bass.
That's insane.
And he's not even singing.
That's totally
and I'm
insane.
like, and I'm supposed to be enjoying this shit, man. And I was just like, I think the whole operation's whack, actually. You know, I don't give a fuck if anyone likes him or doesn't like him or whatever. I'm just talking my That's my personal opinion about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't understand why anybody would even entertain that as like good.
Yeah, I mean, it's dude's successful, so what the fuck do I know? You know what I mean?
Sure, right.
But,
yeah, we're talking shit.
Yeah, like who am I to say anything about this guy? But that's just my opinion as a fan, you know.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Like, even like last night with the this hip hop show. I mean, anyone who's been to a hip hop show know it's just like a guy with a digital turntable or a laptop, and that's what we had last night. But it was still like maximum energy, from the guys
totally.
that were rapping,
Yeah.
And it made up for that, lack of band on stage, So I don't know. I mean, I have literally like non-jokingly considered like touring as Quell as a one piece, but I just, as a fan of music, I would one, be kind of embarrassed to do that, and two, I would feel like I was letting people down.
As long as like there's power, I guess that's really what I mean. I'm down with whatever medium. And it's funny, Alan Duchess, the mastering engineer, like pretty much every record I've ever recorded has been mastered by him. So I have a long-standing friendship with him. Like I've spent many, many hours in his studio with him. And in the very beginning, I was asking his opinion on different types of platforms to use and, what's better for this? Like, should I use like Pro Tools or Logic or whatever? And he was like, look, just pick your platform and go to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of been my approach about stuff where it's like, if something works for you and you can make powerful music with it, then that's what you should roll with,
Yeah.
So it's possible to make laptop based music that's like powerful live. Like I saw White House like years ago and it was just the two dudes in White House and a laptop,
Okay.
but it was powerful.
Nice.
And there was like, elements of it that might have been, okay, well, this is all tracks. But then when you're enjoying the show and you're feeling the energy of it, it's cool.
Sure.
But when you're just basically listening to some dude play a record on stage and he's jumping around, hyping the crowd with nothing.
Yeah, it's lame.
It's completely bullshit in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
But yeah, and that goes back to last night with all the artists we watched last night. They were utilizing technology as part of their production, and that it just became one of the platforms that they used, and they went to work with it.
Right.
And everything had a lot of energy, and there was an emotion, and there was feelings, and it was very, very powerful, all the artists last night.
Well, it kind of makes sense too. Like it's kind of fitting, especially with hip hop, because like hip hop is a music that definitely started with like quote unquote flipping records, sampling stuff. So like it kind of works to just have music playing in the background, because that's literally what it would have been when they were like first getting started and taking samples from different records and stuff.
Right.
So in a way, kind of like it makes logical sense that that's the trajectory that it went on. Like it went from like the actual vinyls to like the digital realm.
Yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah. No, I back it.
Yeah,
and
same,
like, I don't
same.
have a problem with that stuff. And so much of it is around like the the MC, and his
Absolutely.
personality and the interaction. And no, it's just interesting. And also we were commenting on how it was like the Spotify culture of 30 seconds of this track and like the hooks here and that's the other thing too. It's like I don't want to spend too much time talking about this other cat, but like that Ghost dude was playing his songs like in entirety, literally like he put the fucking record in.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to turn this into like a hate fest on this guy
Sure,
either,
no, but fuck him.
but like with the artists last night, it was like they constructed like an aggregate of almost all of a large variety of different music that they did, and it might just be segments of songs. So it really was like a unique experience from listening to the record. Like you would listen to the entire song by Jedi Mind Tricks at home.
Right.
When you saw it live, you weren't seeing that version of it live. You were seeing a live version of it, which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, I think it worked on multiple levels. I mean, one, what you just mentioned, and two, he's got a huge catalog, so it's impossible for him to like do everything.
Yeah.
But this gives him like the ability to do more, and it kept the energy up. There was never like really a lull. It was just like it's just all the like it's like if you were to take like all the killer solos like from in like a metal band, and just like rock them back to back. It's just like fucking mind melting the entire time, and like I said, kept the energy going, and I thought it was. And I commented to Mike, I said like, this is like fucking grindcore hip hop, because like one like the opening act guy, like he had like maybe like a 15-minute set, and I think he did like 10 songs somehow, and like even all the way towards the end with Jedi Mind Tricks, they would hit all the bangers and like get everyone really hyped up, do like the 16 bars or whatever, cut it, next one, keep and it was killer. I mean, I didn't feel like gypped at all. If I'd maybe seen like a band with guitar, bass, all that kind of stuff, and they did something like that, I'd be a little bit more disappointed, because you're looking to see that whole thing being performed.
Right.
But this was like, it worked, and like I never felt cheated at one. I was like, I'm like totally into this. I even told Mike afterwards, I was like, we need to figure out how to do this, man. Like, just like
I don't think I have a future in making hip hop music, honestly, though. But yeah,
but I mean,
but I know you feel like you want to do this shit when you see it.
Yeah. That was cool, man. Really cool.
Yeah, no, it was interesting, man. Like, even just on, like you were saying, like on a creative level, it's good to be influenced by stuff that is outside of your wheelhouse,
And speaking of that, what you just said, and also electronic music, another thing I wanted to bring up is I'm gonna probably try and do this around maybe a week or two before the Quell drops. But I've been working on a little side project. It's as of yet unnamed, but it's way outside of my wheelhouse. I mean, I have likened it to the band Swans. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but I couldn't really think of anything else that like blends different genres of music into a single song, but has like that grimier, like dirtier kind of attitude to it. That's also something that if people like my music could look forward to. I will be releasing that for completely free when I do put it out.
Oh, cool.
Because it's an experiment, I feel like I just want to test the waters with it and get people's reactions, and I don't want there to be like a paywall that like limits people from actually listening to it. So that's gonna be coming out, and it's like, expect something different. It's not gonna be metal. This is gonna have post-punk elements to it, and then avant-garde stuff, and even some hip-hop-esque beats with different music on top of it. So and then me singing, which I've never really done. I did like a scream singing thing on the last Quell album, but this is like actual singing.
You actually sent me something. Like, I don't know if it's the same project, but
it is.
All right, yeah. So I mean, it works, man. Honestly, I think so.
I'm glad that you said that, because like this is a weird one for me, because it's like with metal, I've always played metal, so I know that it'll at least be decent when I put something out that's metal, but I've never really played with something like this. And it was just kind of like, I started this whole thing because when I gotten back to the States, I knew I wanted to write another Quell album, but I was just like having this like massive writer's block. I'd sit down in front of the computer, and I would just sit there and stare at I'd have my guitar track set up on Reaper, and then I would just maybe write like, after 2 hours, I'd have like 10 seconds of something. Mm-hmm. And it was like just kind of bumming me out. And so, I remembered, I can't remember where I read this at, but some other musician had talked about writer's block and how like he would go and do something completely different, and then that, by doing that, would spark something. So I took that to heart, and I just like said, you know what, I'm just gonna mess around with something else. So I got this MIDI keyboard, and then I downloaded a bunch of like free MIDI packs online, and I just started like going through these different MIDI packs and like just playing around with sounds, and and it was fun, because like there's like a certain pressure, I'm sure you feel it too when you're doing tunes, that like, even though this is like this is your baby and you love it, there's like a kind of a pressure, because you're like, oh, I gotta I want this to be better than the last thing. And with this new project, it was like, whatever, man. I could just, I didn't have any expectations of what it could be, because I've never done anything. And that freedom was like really beneficial to me. And then it worked. I was able to like get out of my writer's block, and then I started writing the Quell. So
I do the same shit, man. Actually, it's like you know, because like you were saying, there's expectations, but then like if you just do something that's like, all right, this is just freedom, like I can do whatever I want. I don't have to put it out. No one's looking for it. No one even expects anything.
Right.
It just gets the creative energy going again, and then you can start working on other things. You know, it's like a mental trick you do with yourself, I guess.
And it really worked, you know. So I'm glad for that, and and it turned into something that I was like, hey, this isn't half bad, and so there'll be more information on the Quell Instagram page, which is pretty much the only social media I use anymore. And then I'll probably I will create a separate Bandcamp for it, and it'll stream, but I'll probably have like a separate social media account for it as well once I, like settle on a name and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so keep your eyes peeled for that, and hope you guys enjoy that.
Right on, man. So you don't use Facebook anymore?
I'm on it. You
Yeah.
know? I mean, I'm on all the things you should be on, minus Twitter. But I just I like the platform of Instagram better.
Yeah, me too. Actually, like I'm the same, similar to you. I'm on every. I even have a Twitter account, but I just never. It's auto posted from other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, if Instagram just works, I think better, and it's less like cunty, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Sure.
But there are cunts on Instagram too.
There are.
But I don't know. Facebook is a drag, I think, man.
I feel like things like on a professional level, like I feel like your posts and stuff get kind of like drowned out, like lost in like the slew of other shit that's on Facebook.
Right.
And then I also kind of like you just touched on, like I don't really like I'm not into the atmosphere on Facebook.
Yeah, totally.
And with Instagram, it's like it feels more personal. You're getting pictures of like your favorite people. Their flyers are going up.
Right.
And you can still comment and all that, but it's not like the post is the picture, and that's not like someone's fucking like think tank
diatribe on some shit.
Right. And like you said, you might get some asshole in the comments and stuff like that, but like that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
The thing I like about it is like the picture aspect of stuff. You and I are both into like books and documentaries, and like that's the shit that I used to, when I was growing up buying music, I listened to the album and I would just like thumb through like the album covers, and like the booklets. And I just love that kind of stuff, and so, yeah, for me, it's Instagram. And they also don't fuck with me. Like, Facebook fucked with me a couple times.
Really?
Yeah, man. Like when I did the very first EP, I did like a promo picture, and literally all it had was some deer bones in the picture.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I paid for the marketing. Like, it wasn't much. I paid like $20 or something for the marketing. They fucking flagged it and took it down.
Oh, wow.
But
They
kept
kept
my
your
money.
They didn't refund you, bunch of scumbags.
Dude, so after that I was like kind of like fuck them. I keep it just because there are some people who strictly follow me on that, but yeah, man, fuck Facebook.
Yeah, it's an important platform to be on, but I'm not like out there posting personal shit really.
Yeah.
But I got to say, even on Instagram, there is some of this sponsored stuff is showing too much in my feed too.
It's popping up more and more, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've
maybe
been noticing
they need to make money, but like it's not as personalized as it once was, and that's kind of a drag. But I'm not complaining really.
No. As far as what's available, it's in my opinion, it's the best one.
Right on, man. So once again, shoot us your Bandcamp information and where people can follow you and find out about what's going on.
Sure. So with Bandcamp, it's just Quell. That's QUELL .com or .bandcamp.com. And then on all the social medias that we were just talking about, it's Quell the Band. And you can find it on Facebook and Instagram. But I recommend Instagram because that will be like where I'll post teasers for the sampler, like for the single, and then like release dates and artwork and stuff like that. And I do have a YouTube page, but it's not really, I don't really do a lot of the upkeep on there. I need to like clean house and like get it looking a little bit more polished. But that's just the official Quell band page is what that's called, or the official Quell. You can just look that up on YouTube. But currently it only has a few like videos that I made with the music.
Yeah, I got to get my shit together with YouTube because that's an important platform, man. I don't utilize it to any degree, and I think that would be a good thing overall for everything, you know.
Well, I'm hoping I've got some big ideas for this new release, and one of which is to maybe shoot a music video. So
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So that will definitely put light a fire under my ass to actually get this YouTube page kind of off the ground a little bit. So, but yeah, so that's all the socials, and then my goal is to have the Quell out by the end of August or April, but as you know, things can pop up. So if it doesn't happen, then don't worry. I'm not lying to you guys. It will come out, but my goal is to shoot for the end of April for the release. Yeah,
right on, man. Well, my brother, thanks for coming up, man. My home is your home anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's always a blast.
And thanks for hanging out with us today.
Yeah, right on. Take care, guys.
Just skin taking up space.